and here we go.
There's the deluge. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Gino.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes, you bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another NSF live stream from right here on the Space Coast of Florida. You are currently taking a live look over at Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, where SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket is poised and ready, hopefully, to launch the Starlink 10-42 mission in just under 1 hour's time, if all goes well. My name is Max Evans. I will be your host for this morning's coverage. And folks, it is not going to be your standard Starlink or your ordinary Starlink, as we often say sometimes here as well, because not only is this a record flight for the first stage booster on the docket today, we will hopefully have a spectacular jellyfish effect in the atmosphere a couple of minutes into flight, lighting up the skies of Florida's East Coast. But we will get to that when we get to it. It is going to be a field show from us tonight, folks. I'm out here at the Kennedy Space Center, and of course, I'm not alone in the endeavor this time. I am joined in the field, of course, by D Wise. How's it going, D?
It is going pretty well. You know, it's an early morning, but we're out here. We've got a vertical rocket on the pad, so it is a good day.
Indeedy. Well, at least we hope so. If we can get Falcon 9 off the ground in about 52 and a half minutes, it certainly will be a good start to this Thursday. And behind the scenes, pushing the buttons and pulling the levers is one of our newer folks around these parts now. We have Suknor out pushing the buttons and pulling the levers and making the live stream do live stream things for all of you glorious people on YouTube. Folks, as a reminder, if you have any questions, please feel free to tag us in chat, either at NASA Spaceflight or at NSF, and we will get to your questions as we get to them. Now, down to business. So tonight's mission, I keep saying tonight's, it's really this morning's mission because it is currently, checks watch, 4:34 a.m. local time here on the East Coast of Florida. It's a very early morning for us here, folks. But on paper, this sounds like your ordinary Starlink mission. You know, Falcon 9, Pad 40, 20, oh goodness gracious, 29 Starlink V2 mini satellites are inside the payload fairings there on top of Falcon, heading off to a low Earth orbit, launching northeast. But as I was saying earlier in the intro, this is going to be a record-breaking flight. This is the 36th flight for booster B1067. So the current Falcon 9 first stage fleet leader making its next appearance over at Pad 40 this morning, and hopefully all goes well. If we want to talk about its flight history, we can go down the very long list, starting out along the lines of CRS-22, Crew 3, Türksat 5B, Crew 4, CRS-25, Oilsat Hotbird 13G, SES-03B mPOWER A, PSN Satria, Telecomsat Merah Putih 2, Galileo, Koreasat 6A, and 24 previous Starlink missions. So, yes, it's a veteran. It's seen some stuff, and it has been around for quite a while. Its very first mission, CRS-22, launched all the way back in, I think it was either late May or early June of 2021. So we're talking about a booster that is 5 years old and still ticking. And also just coming one day after the anniversary of STS-135, or the last ever Space Shuttle mission. I know, insert Happy Chris Bergen because Shuttle has been mentioned, but Yes, hopefully all goes well this morning and we can see Falcon 9 breaking some more record numbers. But Dee, would you mind giving us a rundown on the forecast for this morning? Because judging by the Mark 1 eyeballs, we have a pretty clear sky above us, don't we?
We absolutely do. You know, there's just a little bit of haze in the far distance, and there was rain earlier tonight, but at this point, it is spectacular weather. So the forecast from the 45th Weather Squadron has it at 90% go, and the primary concern they only have as cumulus cloud roll, but 10% is almost as good as it gets. If we occasionally will get like the less than 5% or something around there, but those are very, very rare. And then even the additional risk criteria this morning, the booster recovery weather and the solar activity are both low. So this is a spectacular weather forecast here this morning.
And hopefully that stays the way that it says it will, because as we very well know at this time of year in Florida, either in spring and especially in midsummer, we know just how quickly the weather can turn, even at this time of the morning. We even know weather tends to be a lot more stable at this time. But usually the prime hours for severe weather tends to be between like maybe 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. here in the afternoon going into the evening. But we should be plenty in the clear, but it did rain a bit a few hours ago, but that has since cleared away, and we have a wonderful clear sky above our heads. So hopefully that bodes well for 1067's 36 flight here in just about 48 minutes time. Okay, gonna get right into some questions here because there's already some very intriguing ones that I want to touch on. So first coming from, oh gosh, it's a very long one. I'll just say EJ. Sorry, EJ. Asking, in your own opinions, how many flights will B1067 have before it retires? D, I want to start with you.
Ooh, that's a really good question. Uh, I would like to say we're gonna get at least 10 more. Like, but these boosters are getting up there in age. The cadence is gonna start to really drop with some of these higher ones, I would expect, because they're going to want to double check certain components. They're gonna want to understand where unexpected wear occurs, where additional refurbishment points might be needed when they're at this many flights. But I mean, as we can see, the record-breaking booster here for a Starlink mission, so they're able to accept some higher risk on their own missions, push the boundaries, use some of the quote-unquote early flights of, you know, like 5, 10 for customer missions. Like, they've got so many reflights here under their belt, but they can push the boundaries here with the Starlink mission. So I don't know. It'd be really cool to see it reach 50. I hope it does.
Well, SpaceX or personnel from SpaceX are on record saying that the current goal for Falcon 9 boosters is the threshold being, or a threshold of 40 flights. And this is the booster that is closest to that milestone, with this being, again, its 36th flight. For me, I think I'm very confident that this booster will go much farther, but I always have to say that with a bit of hesitation, because with this booster in particular, we are in unknown territory every single time it flies now. No other first stage booster has ever been reflown this much, let alone other Falcon 9 first stage boosters in the fleet, either here on the Space Coast or out on the West Coast in Vandenberg. And they have two there at or near, oh gosh, is it 32 and 33 flights? I think. Oh god, I had the booster numbers written down somewhere. I'll have to find them. But yeah, there are 4, I think, Falcon 9 first stage boosters, 4 or 5 above the 30 flight milestone now. But again, 1067 is currently holding the torch as the fleet leader. But we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know exactly how far Falcon can go in terms of what it can take with structural loads, material fatigue, how many times the Merlins have been either swapped out or reused on either other boosters or on this one, or if they've never been swapped. Not sure. I wish we had more insight onto the information on that front, but I think it's going to comfortably get to the 40 flight milestone, and want to say it'll get close, if not hit 50, also no problem. but we will have to wait and see how that goes. And it might take us a bit longer to get there now because SpaceX has been ramping down Falcon 9 operations, at least in terms of Starlink, because they don't have many more missions to go in terms of the Starlink V2 mini shells that are left to fly. I want to say they are pretty close, if not having completed the Group 6 shell, and they have some more to go with the Group 10 shell. And I want to say they could wrap that up as early as this year. And obviously, they have the shells launching out of Vandenberg. If anything, the Starlink missions from Vandy will be longer than the ones here in at the Cape. But SpaceX currently is all in with Starship and the Starlink V3 satellites, which can only launch on Starship, and they need multiple pads to support the thousands and thousands of version 3 satellites that they want to launch. And the first 3 being Pad 1 and Pad 2 in Starbase, only Pad 2 right now because Pad 1 is undergoing refurb, or it's being redesigned or reconfigured to match that of Pad 2. And of course, the third pad, Launch Complex 39A here in Florida, which will be hopefully nearing launch readiness by September, October. Maybe it'll be ready to receive a vehicle for at least testing. Then, of course, we have at least 2 more pads going up over at Space Launch Complex 37. So no shortage of Starship launch pads coming. But in terms of Falcon 9, they really only have Pad 40 on the Space Coast right now. They have Pad A if they need it, but just judging by what the cadence has been lately, unless there's been a sudden ramp up in cadence needed for some missions or some payloads that we're not sure of, then they will have to bring Pad A back online. But right now, that is only selected for Falcon Heavy and Starship when that does eventually come. But right now, they only have Pad 40. So long-winded answer. I diverted a lot there, but I think it'll get comfortably to 40 and likely to get to 50 also without much issue. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes. All right, one more question here. So I saw somebody else here. I think it was Golden here also asking, "Oh, it's getting closer. You think it'll break the shuttle record?" And I think the record there in question is that of 39 flights from Orbiter Discovery OV-103. Yes, I think it'll well surpass the actual flight record, but I think it's worth taking into consideration that a Falcon 9 first stage and a Space Shuttle Orbiter are nowhere near the same class of vehicle. Just because, say, a Falcon 9 first stage has flown 50 times in the future doesn't necessarily mean that it's done more than perhaps an orbiter, because again, an orbiter goes to orbit, it carries people, it comes back, it's reused, it's an entire spacecraft in itself, whereas a booster only goes up so far and then comes right back. So the orbiter has spent cumulatively a lot more time in space than any Falcon 9 first stage ever has. So yes, it'll pass the actual flight record, but there's a big caveat there in that the vehicles are nowhere near in the same class in terms of where they go, how much they can carry, and so on and so forth. So yes, I think it'll pass that at some point. Hopefully in the next maybe 2 to 3 months, depending on what the cadence does here in Florida. But yeah, big caveat there. Quick super chat here from Turtle Sanctuary with a $10 super, asking for a friend. How is Sawyer doing? Love you, Sawyer. He's good. Just hasn't been on in a minute. I think he's been busy with other things. I know he wanted to be on this morning, but I think he had something else going on. And it's also almost 5 o'clock in the morning, and I cannot blame him whatsoever for not wanting to be up at this hour. So, no, he's doing fine. He's doing good. But thank you for asking. All right, coming up on the T-minus 40-minute milestone here in about a minute. And this is when the countdown really begins to get serious for Falcon 9 launch operations. Dee, would you mind walking us through the timelines for what's to come?
Yeah, so as we get to the T-minus 38-minute mark, that is when the launch director will give go for propellant load. And then just a few minutes later at T-minus 35 minutes, that is when that loading will actually begin. And at that point, they are locked into the T0. Up until that point, they can shift around within the window, but once they hit the point of starting fueling, they are locked in. And First start of fueling is RP1 and LOX for the first stage, and RP1 and LOX for the second stage. Now, we'll talk about it a ton more, is the T-minus 20-minute vent. That is the start of LOX chill down for the second stage. So they're running liquid oxygen through, cooling down the flight. Wow, I can't talk. It is early. Plumbing, prepping for the flow of liquid oxygen into the second stage, which starts around T-minus 16 minutes. As they get closer and closer to launch, those things start to wrap up until, of course, that last minute where many things happen in rapid succession with the startup, final verification of go for launch, and the all-important ignition sequence and liftoff.
And normally we would have a visual confirmation of prop load on the vehicle around the 31 or 32 minute marker. But you're in a new position tonight with the robo tracker, and there is some pesky shrubbery in the way. So hopefully we'll have some idea in terms of vapor coming off of it. But yeah, I don't blame you, D. That is a lot to drag out to the normal spot. But hopefully the shots are going to be worth it. But obviously, I think everyone knows it's going to be.
Look, when we saw the time, and we're probably going to address this in a bit,
Yes.
but when we saw the time, the decision to break out the head and the nicer tracking very quickly, it seemed like it was worth it.
Yes, and the I guess event in question here, folks, is given the current T0 and the rocket's direction of travel relative to sunrise, we are expecting a pretty remarkable jellyfish effect this morning. And for those who are not familiar, perhaps, a jellyfish effect is when the rocket is flying either towards or away from the sun, but flies back into the sun's rays, and the sun's rays are lighting up the exhaust particulates of either Falcon 9's first and or second stages, and that does it very, very well with Falcon because it runs on kerosene or RP1. It's a carbon-based propellant, and that means the exhaust is basically a lot of soot, and soot does a great job of capturing light in terms of being able to to catch the light and have it I can't say the word reflected. There we go. Back towards our vantage points, either from here or anyone else who is in the visible window. So, yeah, I think we are going to be in for a pretty spectacular show, depending on what the weather decides to do. But at the moment, as we talked about earlier, I don't think there is any sort of concern here for weather being a contender for ruining the show this morning, which I don't think is going to be the case. But we will have to wait and see what happens. And hopefully by this point, SpaceX's launch director would have verified that all vehicle and ground systems are go for propellant loading. And that will commence in about 1 minute and 50 seconds from now. Now, on to some more questions while we can. Good question here from 98 Central, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, but it's worth diving into, I think, in more detail. From 98 Central, are new licenses required to fly the booster past 40 flights? D, I don't think there's a license requirement, but I think after certain flight milestones, SpaceX likes to pull boosters off the line to do some pretty heavy inspections, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely not a licensing expert. I would defer that one to some people that aren't on the stream here. But SpaceX does have regular sort of maintenance checks, and you can see that especially before there were regularly cleaned lines on the welds, and as they reflew more, they weren't having to clean those and do the inspections in the same sort of way, but they are regularly swapping out parts, swapping out engines, all those sorts of things to make sure that the boosters are in good condition. And I'm sure as the boosters get up in age, those wear points are going to be inspected more frequently with more intensity, and they'll be on the lookout for any more points that could become a concern, even if they weren't previously.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a way to verify this beyond like what we've seen on social media, but I think They first did this at the 10 flight milestone, and that was first reached back in 2022, I believe. And then they've pulled boosters off the line every 5 flights for inspections. So they were doing a heavy inspections and I guess their own sort of recertification every 5 flights. So a 5 flight increment. And obviously, I think they've kept up doing that to this point. But I wouldn't be surprised if they, I guess, inspected the vehicle more so every flight now. Especially for a vehicle as old as this booster is, being 5 years old, and now also its 36th flight. I mean, it flew about 31 days ago, so probably not the most heavy of inspections compared to what is normal. But if all went well after the 35 flight milestone, then it should be good up until 40, pending them seeing any sort of major, I guess, structural issues on the booster past this point. I think it's worth keeping in mind, folks, that Falcon 9 has to undergo a lot of loads. It has to undergo the loads from having to get off the pad and get out into space via very intense acceleration on the first stage. It has to undergo aerodynamic loads on both ascent and descent, which is, I think, more intense because obviously it is plunging back through Earth's thicker parts of the atmosphere, and you can literally see the booster bending in some footage released from NASA and SpaceX from certain RTLS missions, but also thermal loads going through the same points in flight. So certainly a lot of points. There are certainly many points of potential failure on a rocket, but to ensure that those points of failure do not become points of failure during flight or at any critical point in the mission, obviously requires heavy inspections and high confidence from the teams working on those components to make sure that all goes well. But again, we are in uncharted territory here for Falcon 9 with this booster in particular now. Flying beyond a point that Falcon 9 has not flown before. So we will have to wait and see what happens, but I think confidence is there for this booster to perform well. Right now, coming up on the T-minus 32 minute and 45 second marker. At this point, we should be well into propellant loading, and we should hopefully see our first visual confirmations of it in a few minutes' time. I think our biggest visual indicator this morning will be the T-minus 20 minute and 20 second vent at about 12 and a half minutes from now, because we have a new vantage point this morning because we have some different tracking stuff out here at the Kennedy Space Center press site to give us the best views possible of launch and hopefully a big fat jellyfish a couple of minutes into flight. So pardon us for the views, but I can assure you that they are going to be worth it. All right. From Livinzeret. Forgive me if I mispronounced that. When do you guys think Falcon 9 will launch Starlinks for the last time before Starship takes all over further Starlink missions? Oh boy. Well, I don't want to say it's safe to assume Falcon 9 Starlink operations will conclude this year. They might on the Space Coast, but Vandenberg, I think, still has a lot left to go in their respective shells, and also with Starshield. But I don't think we're that far off, guys, from Falcon 9 not launching Starlinks anymore, either from Florida or Vandy, which is kind of sad because we have left the era of them launching literally every 2 to 4 days. Like, that is what we have become so used to. And when they retired their drone ship, Just Read the Instructions, here on the Space Coast, that dramatically hindered their ability to launch often. And by often, I mean, again, every 2 to 4 days. Like, that was actually kind of insane looking back. I'm not sure how we did that, to be honest with you, in terms of coverage, because that was a nutty schedule to try and keep up. In theory, they could keep up a similar cadence if they decide to launch less Starlinks per rocket and bring the booster back to LZ-40 for more rapid turn transportation back to Hangar X and refurb. But at the moment, it's about a 2.5 day trip from the LZ out in the ocean on the drone ship to get back here to Port Canaveral and take the booster back off and bring it back over to Hangar X here. but I don't think they have any real reason to go down that path, considering how much or how little Falcon 9 has left to launch in terms of Starlink here, at least on the east coast of Florida. So we'll have to wait and see. I think, but we could very well see the last of Falcon 9 Starlinks in Florida by the end of this year. And I think that's actually probably likely. I could be wrong on that. Somebody could clip that, and that could age terribly. But we'll have to wait and see what happens, as we so often say. But folks, we're not far off from a major change, because once Starship becomes operational and is actually able to load reliably, oh buddy, we're going to see a lot less of Falcon 9 than we already see.
Yeah, Max, I totally agree with you there. Like, we've seen the cadence ramp down already so much. Like last year, it felt like constant launches. Now it's like a crawl, and it's like, oh well, do we have a launch this week? Yeah, I guess we have one launch this week. Cool. And it's like 1 or 2 launches a week, and it feels like, and that's such a major change from where we had like back-to-back days of launches. And so even
Yes.
I definitely don't it's kind of sad to say, as much as we talk about like late night Starlinks do be hitting different, that quote, I feel like I haven't heard that one in a minute.
Yeah, right.
I feel like it won't be too long till we're missing them out here.
Well, you say that. Just wait until Starship has a launch cadence like Falcon 9 did last year. Then we're gonna be like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm not even sure how to finish that sentence, but that's gonna be even more insane.
I think we're going into the lull here, and it's just gonna become more of a lull. And like the first few Starships, of course, will be these incredible events, but they won't be at that cadence yet. It'll be a slow ramp up for them to get to last year's cadence. Like that'll probably be years, and it'll be sad to sort of say goodbye to one cadence in exchange for another. But when we have even 12 Starships a year out of the Cape, that will be incredible. And once we get up to 50, 100, however many, that will be a sight to behold, and something that the Space Coast hasn't seen anything quite like it before.
You know, I don't. To be completely honest, I don't think we're. Excuse me. I don't think we're that far away from a somewhat intense Starship launch cadence between here on the Space Coast and Starbase. And the reason I say that is because we've seen the refurb work that SpaceX teams did on both Booster 14 and Booster 15 last year, and those were the first 2 Starship Super Heavy boosters to fly. Granted, those were also version 2 boosters, which they used a lot older hardware, and they were not necessarily designed or optimized for how they were being used, i.e., with that temporary hot staging ring, the ever so common swap of Raptors in between flights, and a whole bunch of refurb work that the Super Heavy version 3 was designed to eliminate in the long term. So I feel the timescale for Starship reusability for both boosters and ships is going to be a lot more condensed what we became used to with Falcon 9, because it's worth keeping in mind, Falcon 9 was the first to do what it is doing, either with Block 4 full thrust. It was the first to pioneer rapid reusability for launch vehicles. I mean, of course, we have the space shuttle. Of course, I'm not trying to take anything away from the orbiters, but those took months in between missions at the in their shortest period. At their shortest, required months of time to get them ready for flight again, and also a lot more manpower, and it was a lot, I guess, strict. I don't have an exact insight into what happened with shuttle. I would need Chris on that or Sawyer, but it took a lot more to get an orbiter ready compared to a Falcon 9 first stage.
Now,
go ahead.
You do say, I definitely agree with you. Like, the boosters are going to be there and are going to be capable of this reuse very rapidly, but that ship reuse is pretty huge
It is.
I don't want to say unknown, but they obviously haven't reached that point yet. And even though they've done the work with the soft splashdowns and everything, it's going to be a whole different animal actually reusing those. And so I think that will probably be the holdup to the cadence in some ways. And how fast can they build up their fleet and get them flying and refurbished?
If anything, the shifts will be a lot more comparable to the orbiters in terms of refurb and turnaround time between flights. But obviously, they have to get there first and getting a ship to orbit and then bringing it back either here to Florida or Starbase. We presume it's going to be Starbase, but the weirder things have happened, guys. We still don't exactly know what the plan is for Starship for the rest of the year, based on how Flight 12 went. But we do have a bit of a Flight 13 update, kind of, sort of. We are currently awaiting Booster 20's rollout from Mega Bay 1. I believe the doors are open right now from Mega Bay 1. I don't know if we have any cameras queued from Starbase. For anyone who's behind the scenes, I'm sorry to backseat produce, but we are potentially not that far away from Booster 20 beginning its test campaign for Flight 13, or at least in terms of engine testing, like we recently saw with Ship 40. What's left for Booster 20 to conduct is either a spin prime and or igniter test, followed by a full 33 engine static fire to certify the vehicle is ready for flight. So that's what is still left to happen on the booster side of things. As far as we are aware, Ship 40 is borderline ready to go. We don't exactly know if they're going to be performing another wet dress before Flight 13. We kind of presume they will, just given how new version 3 still is as a whole, and them trying to get a better understanding of how the vehicle behaves and performs out in the field compared to each flight element being the booster and ship on their own. But if they want to speed things up, like we know they want to with Starship, I would not be surprised if we see some pretty weird stuff from Starbase in the coming months. But the next stop on that list is getting Booster 20 back outside for the first time in a minute for some fresh air and out to Pad 2 for engine testing. So there are road closures posted for is today the 9th? Oh gosh, it is the 9th, isn't it? Today the 9th from I think it's 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. local time, and then also tomorrow the 10th, Friday the 10th. Good grief. Also around a similar time for a testing window closure. So more to come. We know obviously the NOTAMs have been posted, and other notices have been posted indicating a net or no earlier than a launch date of July 15th. We'll have to wait and see if that holds. I'm not saying it either will or won't. I think it'll all greatly depend on how Booster does with its testing here in the coming days. But also, like, what is Starship's history of launching on the first indicated windows from notices? I have to pose that question, and not that anyone has to answer it. That's just something to keep in mind. If I had to predict when Flight 13 is going to go, my gut says probably somewhere between the 18th and 21st at the earliest. I would not be surprised if it pushes later into July, if not into August. But I think we're not far off from the days of we see a window pop up for Starship to launch, and it doesn't slip more than a week after that, if at all. So as we often say, we'll have to see what happens. All right, coming up on the T-minus 21 minute marker, I don't know how long I can stall before we see a certain milestone at about 50 seconds or so. But I'm going to hit some support while I have a moment. Oh my gosh, Turtle Sanctuary went on a friggin' riot here. Holy cow. Gifting 5 Red Team memberships, a $3 super chat asking, is Patrick Bob real? And also asking, is the Earth a flat plane? No. And also, did my humor just lose a beat? Yes, go Starlink. No, dude, thank you. We love you. That was awesome. We love craziness. We love all the chaos. So thank you for your support. Right, about 19 seconds away still. Good grief. How can I stall the time in between now and the milestone coming up in 10 seconds from now? D, how you feeling? How you doing good? You doing fine?
You know, I'm really chill this morning as we look and see this Locks chill down for the second stage.
Hey, there it is. There it is. D, what are we looking at?
So this is the start of chill down ahead of liquid oxygen loading on the second stage. So rather than just throwing all that liquid oxygen through the pipes at once, of course, you need to cool those down ahead of time, get them ready to carry it. You don't want to flash and cause, wow, my brain is not working today, that cause sort of rapid expansion there, or cause, what's the name of it for the thermal cycling on the pipes?
Thermal conditioning?
Yeah, you're thermally conditioning the pipes ahead of the flow of liquid oxygen onto the second stage there. So it's going off into the tree line there. We've got a slight breeze off to the north here, but it is a great important milestone to see here.
Indeed, and that cloud coming out of the transporter erector also serves as a pretty good visual indicator as to what the conditions are like here on the Space Coast at the current time. And right now, that is a very puffy cloud. It's not evaporating quickly at all, and it is moving north. So what that means is it's a very humid time. It's a very humid night here at America's premier spaceport. And then also there's a slight breeze that you were just talking about, D, which actually feels quite nice. But the air is thick enough to where you can practically drink it right now. It's pretty disgusting. But that is just, again, a typical Florida summer night for you, especially in July. But yeah, things are progressing well with Falcon 9 here this evening, or this morning, and which is something we love to see. And as we count down towards what we presume to be a gorgeous liftoff here in just about over 18 minutes time. Now on to some more questions while we have a moment. Ooh, okay. So kind of going back to a topic we were just talking about here from Johan's. Can we display it? Thank you. There we go. But how long will it take for Starship to ramp up cadence? I guess just in general, I think is what is being implied here. A year or two. In my opinion, I think it's not going to take much longer once Starship actually makes orbit and proves that it is a reliable launch vehicle. I would say we're probably a year and a half to 2 years away from a probable monthly cadence at the minimum. But they also have to prove version 3 reusability on both the booster and especially the ship, because if they can get both of those elements nailed in terms of reuse, that will take a lot of stress off of the production line and making new vehicles. And right now, Starbase is the bottleneck when it comes to vehicle production. We have not seen any progress here on a Star Factory 2.0 being built here at Roberts Road, but we do have a gigantic gigabay that is nearing completion now. So our predictions right now for that is only going to, I guess, hold boosters and ships for post transport and testing processing, either at the pad here or from the pad here at 39 and or 37, until they have some method of actually building boosters and ships here. So and again. Both boosters and ships are going to be barged here by their transport barges. You will thank me later, Marmac 31. And then, of course, the former Falcon 9 recovery drone ship, Just Read the Instructions, which is going to be converted for Starship hardware transportation. So we will see, hopefully, the first of those vehicles arriving here, depending on how Flight 13 goes and how the production is going in Starbase, probably, oh gosh. D, when do you think the first flight vehicles are going to get here to Florida?
I answered this on a previous stream, and my estimate, I think, is off by at least a month.
In what direction?
I think I was a month. I said at least a month earlier than it will actually be, most likely. So I would guess late August.
Really? That's
Maybe?
soon? Okay.
Yeah,
That is very soon. But
It
you know what?
is.
I admire it. I admire the confidence.
I'm not focused on the Starbase side of things, so the exact states of vehicles at the current time and readiness there, I'm not up to date on. That's a like shot in the dark type guess. I don't think there's any chance it could be earlier.
Yeah, I mean, Starbase is a whole other beast in itself to keep track of, on top of everything happening here. And of course, we have more than one launch provider to be talking about here in Florida than we do in Starbase. We have SpaceX, we have ULA, we have Blue, we have oh my gosh, Relativity, we have Stoke, and a handful of others that will hopefully be coming into to other pads here soon. But stuff's about to be kicking off here on the Space Coast, hopefully here in the next couple of years. Yeah, I think there's a lot more to keep track of here, but there's also a lot to keep track of in Starbase, because that is where currently 90% of all these Starship magic happens. All right, now just passing or coming up to the T-minus 14-minute marker in the countdown. So not much longer to go left, folks. I keep peering out towards the horizon to see if I can see any bit of twilight creeping up. I don't see anything just yet, but that'll change in just a few minutes. I think local sunrise here on the Space Coast is, I believe, currently 6:32 a.m. So we're about an hour, 20 minutes away. But the direction and altitude that Falcon 9 is going today, that normally would be, I think, my gut would presume that to be early for a jellyfish. But just given where we are in the time of year and where the sun is going to be coming up, and also Falcon 9's direction of travel today being northeast, it's flying directly toward the sun. So I think we are going to be in for a pretty spectacular show. If not right away, definitely during stage 2 flight. I don't think we'll see it during the first stage phase of flight at all, but definitely stage 2 at some point.
I don't know. I think we are going to be in for a show because it is sunrise and like sunset. The window for any sort of jellyfish is significantly lower when launching in this direction. But since we're going to the east, that means that it's getting closer to that like Terminator line, and I think we are gonna have a brilliant show here. And if you are in Florida, if you are in Georgia, if you are in North Carolina, honestly, if you are anywhere in the eastern US, go outside, try to look and see, because this could be a show.
I think it's also worth pointing out as well that we have some enlarged NOTAMs that have been posted for Falcon 9's flight today, and in particular, the recovery window, which is a bit bigger than normal. And I think the reason I think it's safe to presume that this is only because this is a heavily used Falcon 9 booster, and because of reasons that we have already discussed, being that we are in unknown territory with this booster in terms of what it can and can't handle. There is the enhanced possibility of something going wrong at some point during flight, and in particular ascent, because that is among the most stressful points for a launch vehicle, especially the first stage. So you can see the NOTAM closure there coming from Florida is a lot longer than normal. And that is along the ascent corridor of Falcon 9. And of course, the entry or landing zone NOTAM there is a little bit bigger than normal as well. But I think what's most notable is the ascent corridor there is a lot longer than normal. Normally, it's very short by comparison. Like I think it normally cuts off around where that first blue area ends there on the bottom left of this graphic here. But again, it's a lot longer, but it's a heavily used booster. We are in unknown territory. Anything could happen with a Falcon this morning, but we hope that all goes well. It's Falcon 9. It has a history of pulling through even when things have not been going its way. But it is currently the backbone and the workhorse of American spaceflight and ground to space cargo capability. So I think it'll pull through. But again, there's always the chance that something happens. And if something does happen, this is why SpaceX pushes the boundaries on their Starlink missions, because if something happens, it's their own payload that's been affected. It's not been it hasn't been some commercial partner, or heaven forbid, a government payload, either for the U.S. or for somebody else. So yes, but it is definitely worth pointing out, and is very intriguing. Actually, I had not seen this graphic before we went live. So looking at it now, that is very intense, I think is the right word. But that really puts, again, in perspective of what could be expected for this morning's mission. All right, so D, coming up now, we are past the T-minus 9. Some other stuff that I want to come to first. Folks, we have already talked about how thick the air is, and how humid it is, and how the weather can just change so quickly here in Florida. But we have some things for you for this time of year over at shop.nesaspaceflight.com. And we currently have a sale going on for a bunch of our summer merch. So obviously, among the most popular of ours is these Hawaiian shirts, which I absolutely adore. I don't have any of these newer ones yet, but we have these Hawaiian shirts. We have sun shirts, both with the hood and long sleeves, and just the t-shirts, amongst others. And I think also a favorite is our towel. Of course, I still lie here. So, folks, the shop is one of the best supporters here. It helps keep the lights on, and helps keep the coverage coming for all of these missions, especially those happening at around 5 o'clock in the morning, when everyone else in the world is either asleep or just waking up for their workday. So it means a ton. Please feel free to go check out the shop over at shop.nesaspaceflight.com and check out all of our summer merch there. Good grief, it's been a morning. All right. Now, D, back to you. We are currently coming up on the T-minus 8-minute marker. What can we expect here in the coming minutes as Falcon 9 preps itself for flight?
Yeah, so as we get closer here, we are going to start to see things such as the engine chill down, the tanks going to final pressurization, as well as, of course, in those last 2 minutes, once the fueling wraps up, then everything's a blur right now. As the fueling wraps up, that's when we will see the all-important switch to internal for Falcon 9 going into startup, LD giving a go for launch, and of course, in those last 3 seconds, ignition and liftoff.
Indeed. Coming up on that rather quick now, on that T-minus 7-minute milestone, which is when engine chill will begin on Falcon 9's first stage, on Falcon 9's first stage, and it's 9 Merlin 1D engines primarily. So coming up on that, and while we have a couple more moments, I will hit some more questions and some support while we have some time left before T0. From Dig, a $5 super here from Dig is saying, thank you for thank goodness gracious me. Thank you for oh my gosh, continuing to cover these Falcon 9 flights. These never get old. Set to run outside with the binoculars. Go Falcon, go Starlink, go NSF. Yes, if you have binoculars, if you have a camera, even if it's just your phone, please guys, go outside here in a few minutes, especially if you are here on Florida's East Coast, or even going up the East Coast of the US, like Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, even Virginia. Please go outside, look out to the east, and see if you can see Falcon 9. Because if you can see it, chances are you are going to see a spectacular jellyfish show here in a few minutes' time, with the sun coming up. Hopefully, not hopefully, it will come up. The sun doesn't stop coming up. With the sun coming up and lighting up Falcon 9's exhaust, and having its exhaust lighting up in the sky, it's a spectacular show. So yes, go outside in a few minutes, but in the meantime, hit some more questions while we still have a few moments. From ResistoJet, do we have any stats on the fairings on this flight? Also, is there a fairing that holds the record for the most flights? I hate to be that guy, but Alex is the one who has all of the stats on the fairings, especially. He loves his fairings. We don't normally have any info on what fairings are flying. SpaceX does have a camera on the Koreasat tower there, which is currently in between us and Falcon 9, which, depending on the angle, can show us the actual numbers on for which fairing is which. And he has a whole spreadsheet in terms of which or how many times each fairing has flown. We don't have any info on that. We saw them roll out past the press site here a couple of days ago, getting ready to be stacked on Falcon 9 for this morning's mission. But rain check on that one. Either DM Alex or maybe send me a message later on, and we can try to get that one. But unfortunately, at the moment, we do not have that. All right, folks, coming up on the T-minus 4.5 minute milestone now. I mean, not much of a milestone. It's just a point in the countdown. Oh boy, trying to peek out over the horizon still to see if I can see any signs of twilight here. Not quite yet, but I am seeing a lot of haze. I'm seeing a lot of haze here because the countdown clock here is obviously now all digital and has been for some time, but it is currently lit up with the Artemis logo. And you can see the amount of haze in the atmosphere right now because there is just this haze, again to use the word, around the clock right now, and that haze is all around the Space Center right now. You can feel it, you can borderline taste it here in the air, but it's a standard summer morning here, but that should greatly enhance the sound for launch today. So we have, of course, many microphones here. I believe Dee's setup has a pretty good microphone as well. We will stay tuned for that one as well. But yes, if anything, the thicker, humid air here in Florida helps carry better from the rocket, whether it be from pad 39, whether it be from pad 41 or 40. The sound should carry a lot better in atmospheric conditions like we have this morning. And also the wind is like barely coming from the south towards the north. It's a gentle breeze. And actually wind direction can affect how the sound or how your audible experience is for a launch, depending on where you are. If it's coming from your back towards the rocket, it will suppress the sound a bit more than usual. If it's coming from the rocket, the sound will get to you all that much faster, ironically, and just be all that much louder and being a great audible experience. So we are expecting this one to be a great experience all around here in terms of audible and visuals here, of course, with the aforementioned jellyfish effect in just a couple of minutes into flight. If I had to guess when exactly we will see it, I think it'll be once we have stage separation and stage 2 is on its way. We're still about an hour and 15 minutes or so away, actually probably an hour 10 now, from sunrise here on the east coast of Florida, but the sun does not need to be up to see this. Actually, the sun either has to be down before sunrise or set at, or about maybe 45 minutes after sunset at the latest to have this effect in the exhaust. But everyone cross your fingers, cross your toes, cross everything you got, and we can see Falcon 9 off the ground here in about an hour, 1 minute and 55 seconds time. At this point in time, all propellants should be closed out on the vehicle, both stage 1 locks and RP1, and stage 2 RP1 and locks. Those should all be closed out. Ground gas closeouts should be closed out if they haven't been already. And now approaching the T-minus 90-second milestone, about 30 seconds away from a Falcon 9 entering startup, or the point where Falcon 9's internal systems take over the countdown. Who the heart rate's going, folks? It always does. It's always the pre-flight jitters that always get you. I've been fortunate enough to see over 300 of these now to this point, and I tell you, some are obviously more special than others. But for a vehicle like Falcon 9 on missions like this, in conditions like this, I think it is going to be a spectacular one. Now, under 1 minute, Falcon 9 should be under its own internal power and entering startup. Don't know if we have SpaceX comms available for this, but we should hear a go for launch call from the launch director in a few seconds from now, nominally. Don't know if we have access to SpaceX comms here, but if the countdown clock keeps going,
Go for launch. 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 Go for
right on cue. It's almost like he's listening. He's probably not. But yes, go for launch from SpaceX LD. Now T-minus 30 seconds away. About 25 seconds now from liftoff. At this point, Falcon 9 should be reaching flight pressures on both Stage 1 and Stage 2 propellant tanks. The deluge system should be primed and ready to activate here in a few seconds. Now only 10 seconds away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition, and we have liftoff. Go Falcon, go Starlink. Plus 1 minute and 17 seconds into the flight, Falcon 9 should be well into supersonic speeds and approaching the point of max Q, or the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. Flew right by the moon. You could not plan that shot any better. Now, as Falcon 9 continues to ascend, you will notice the exhaust from its first stage beginning to change shape and color as it ascends into the thinner parts of Earth's atmosphere, thus allowing the exhaust to expand outwards and change its shape and color. Went from a bright orange there to now transitioning to a darker red, and should be transferring to a blue colored here in just a few moments. Coming up on MECO, we're managing cutoff with the first stage here in a few seconds. And there we go. Managing cutoff with the first stage. And there we go. We have ignition of the MVAC, or Vacuum Optimized Merlin 1D engine, on Falcon 9's second stage. And fairing separation on the telescope. Look at this! Look at this! Courtesy of the telescope operated by DYs. Now 3 minutes and 15 seconds into flight. Falcon 9's first stage. Oh my gosh, you can see one of the fairings there reflecting off of the exhaust from the MVAC. And some stars just going by in frame casually, as you do. Falcon 9's first stage should be reorienting itself into flight, preparing itself for atmospheric reentry here in a few minutes. Preceded by the atmospheric oh my goodness, here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes. Here comes weirdness.
Oh, look at that.
Look at this. Oh, there it is. Here comes the jellyfish. Oh my goodness. I don't know if we have a wider shot to show. Oh my gosh!
Show the wide one.
Show that. Okay, so on the bottom right there, that is Falcon 9's first stage, and those puffs that you were, I think, you're currently seeing, are the RCS thrusters firing on it, or the reaction control system thrusters to help keep Falcon 9 oriented in the vacuum of space. And you can see all of this because now Falcon 9 is in sunlight, despite us being in nighttime here still on the ground. Oh my gosh, this is stunning. Holy cow. I'm always floored whenever we see this. I never have any idea what to say, to be completely honest with y'all. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm floored. Officially. Oh my goodness. Wow.
So I'm now tracking the first stage as it goes. Oh, look at the first stage. Wow.
Yeah. You can actually see it out of the cloud. Look at this. Okay, so now it looks like it's back in Earth's shadow there. That's okay. We should be coming up on atmospheric reentry here in a couple of moments. And Falcon 9 should be preparing itself for its reentry burn, where it first ignites a single Merlin engine to help slow it down, followed by 2 more. Create a bit of a force field to fight against the thickening Earth's atmosphere, and also while it's slowing down. We say it's like fighting fire with fire.
So
You
I
should
think it
see that.
exited the area where it's in the atmosphere.
And there it is. There's the entry burn right there. I can see it with my eyes. And it's on the bottom of the frame there, below the lower tip of the jelly there. That is atmospheric reentry burn. Look at this. Mind you, that is hundreds of miles away from here, folks. And we have it with our on the ground from the Kennedy Space Center and Florida Space Coast. Oh my goodness. At this point, we should have engine shutdown of Falcon 9's first stage. Grid fins deployed. Now it should be. There we go. Yeah, look at this. Look at that Terminator. Oh my gosh. There's something so special about Twilight missions, especially with a booster as storied as this one is. Now, as Falcon 9 descends into the thicker parts of Earth's atmosphere, you are seeing its velocity begin to shed off remarkably quickly, and that is all due to aerodynamic resistance. And as it falls further and further, that G-load is only going to increase. But the more airflow it has over its surfaces, the more control authority those grid fins are going to have. And of course, you need those to help keep Falcon 9 oriented for a safe landing burn and touchdown on the drone ship of a Shortfall of Gravitas. Falcon 9's first stage continuing to descend. There's the drone ship there below the grid fin. That little speck of light down there on the left-hand side of your screen. Some vapor now. Look at this. Should be subsonic at this point as well. Now 5 kilometers in altitude and dropping rapidly. Should be coming up on landing burn ignition here shortly. There we go. Stage 1 landing burn underway. A single Merlin 1D engine there. Engine number 1. Grid fins working their magic as much as they can. Punching through the cloud layer. Views from a Shortfall. There's the booster. Landing legs deployed. And touchdown. Booster B1067, after its 36th launch and recovery, now becomes Booster 1067-37. Look at this. And now views from Falcon 9's second stage as it continues to fly into the sun, as it continues out farther east over Florida's, or actually over the US's east coast. And there we have it. Second engine cutoff number 1, or SECO. Waiting for a call of nominal orbital insertion here. Okay, sounds like we're not going to hear it, but if we get word on that, we will be sure to forward it. Comms are not live. Okay, thanks, Jay. Alrighty. Oh, and look at this scene, guys. Look at this. This is like we're being almost invaded by some sort of alien species that is trying to make their presence absurdly known. Right now, I think this is one of our Cape cams based out near Jetty Park, is the leftover exhaust particulates from Falcon 9's second stage reflecting the sunlight, obviously from the sun, and we are seeing that reflectivity now here on the ground. So despite us still being here like in full nighttime here on the ground, the exhaust is so high that it's being lit up by the sun. So we have differing shades of the plume based on where it is in the sky. Look at this. It looks like an angel or something. Like, look at this. ID is also working on some footage. We also should have some replays coming as well from all of our other cameras. My word. You know what? I hate to be that guy, but it looks like a giant cicada, a giant bug almost. Like there's the main abdomen there in the middle and then wings on either side. I hate to ruin that visual for everyone, but it's either that or an angel. Something that's just like looking over you. That is borderline ominous, dare I say, but in the best ways possible. Just trying to get a couple snaps with my phone really quickly while I can. Because like these moments always, I never know what the heck to say. I just catch myself stopping and admiring it as much as anybody else on the ground. But of course, we still have all of you guys to talk to as well still, which is all the better. Now, folks, for those of you who are still with us, please actually let me bring it up first here. Standby caller. All right, I want to pull up chat here. I didn't have it out before. Forgive me, but chat, if you are currently seeing this, I want to know where you are seeing this jellyfish from. Put it in chat. I will read every single one that I see. And of course, guys, if you have any photos or videos, post them on social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Tag all of us. We would love to see. St. Augustine, Winter Haven, too cloudy in Maryland. I'm sorry, dude. That's a bummer. Orlando. Gainesville. Wow. That is incredible. Great view of the jelly from Miami. Fantastic. That's actually really good to know because it was flying away from you, and you're about 2.5 to 3 hours south of the Cape. Magnificent. Dude. Some folks here in Titusville as well. Lovely. That's awesome. It's the place to be, dude. Sorry, needed some water. Yeah, guys, if you have any photos or videos of launch, and especially this jelly, post them and tag us. Me, D, the official main account, please. Like, we would love to see this. It's a great way. It is a great way to start our Thursday. And I love just the longer we keep the camera on it, the more we can see it changing shape. And I'm getting lost in it, to be completely honest with you. And now folks are beginning to come in on their daily drive here onto the Kennedy Space Center and begin their day of work because, of course, it is a normal work day. Driving through either of the gates here at KSC and seeing this in the eastern sky. It's alien. Like, that's the best word I have for it right now is alien. Now, folks, we do have replays coming, so don't fret. We have those coming. We are working on those as speak. In the meantime, I'm going to hit a couple more questions as much as I can because I'm still quite heavily distracted by this phenomenal phenomena in the eastern skies here of Florida Space Coast. My goodness. My goodness. Okay, so from Flippers, hey dude, how's it going? Asking, why is the booster so sooty? Well, Falcon 9's first stage runs on, well, actually, all of Falcon 9 runs on a combination of RP1 or kerosene and liquid oxygen. And kerosene is a carbon-based fuel, and it is very sooty as a byproduct of combustion. So you would think that as the rocket, there shouldn't be any soot gathering on the Falcon 9's tank surfaces on the way up. And you'd be correct, because obviously they're traveling in different directions. But on the way down, during both the entry burn and the landing burn, Falcon 9 is flying back through its own exhaust. So, and the parts of the tank that are no longer frosty, the soot then flows around the booster and then sticks to the booster. So that is why boosters over time get sootier and sootier and sootier. It's just a byproduct of Falcon 9 flying it back through its own exhaust cloud and having that carbon soot buildup on its surfaces. 1067 ironically does not look like the most sooty booster in the fleet. I think the most sooty has been 1077 is up there, 1080. In my opinion, there are other Falcon 9 first stage boosters that look sootier than 1067, but none have the battle scars or charring or like just battle scar marks on the actual tank surfaces or the grid fins or other Falcon 9 that 1067 does. So, in essence, that is why Falcon 9s get sooty, and that is also why Super Heavy does not, because obviously that runs on a combination of methane and LOX, and of course methane also has a bit of exhaust byproduct. We see it the plume on during launch. It's a very thin, like brown cloud, but it doesn't build up the same way on the tank surfaces. That we do see marks on Super Heavy, with mostly from the charring and thermal marks from hot staging, and also just the super high temperature seen from the engine section during atmospheric reentry. Because of course, Super Heavy does not conduct a reentry burn; it just plows straight into the atmosphere at full speed without slowing down with the engines. It only slows down by an atmospheric drag at first, followed by a 13 engine landing burn down to 5, and then down to 3 with version 3 boosters. So yes, there's a very long-winded answer. Ooh, a good question here from Gina, asking how much soot do they clean off each booster, and how much weight do they gain with repeated use? So, I think initially SpaceX was cleaning off boosters all the way. I know the first ever Falcon 9 booster to be reflown was completely cleaned of all soot, but that is an incredibly labor dense process, and it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of material to do that. Ultimately, for performance that is negligible with a coating of soot on the tanks. So they stopped doing that, and they only clean soot off of the areas that they have to inspect, and most keenly are the actual weld lines on Falcon 9's tank surfaces as a whole, being the LOX tank and of course the RP1 tank. And you will see this on more heavily flown boosters, where you see these like white lines, like these straight lines up and down, and also side to side on the booster. And those are where the actual weld lines are. They have to inspect those after X amount of flights. I think they probably do it after every 5. I'm pretty sure they do it in 5 flight increments for the more heavily flown boosters, and probably every 10 or so flights for the younger ones. But with boosters like 1067, like the one that just flew here flew here this morning, gave us this spectacular jellyfish. I would presume it's probably every flight or 2, depending on what the data was showing from ascent and descent, and what SpaceX teams essentially the SpaceX teams can dictate how to proceed based on that. But it is very clear where soot has been wiped off of the booster versus not. And I think you can actually look at that for yourself with our Space Coast Live 24/7 stream here, also here on YouTube, and our cameras based both at the mouth of Jetty Park and also those at Rusty's in the port, which is right across the port from where Falcon 9
Hey Max, can I just say how absolutely stunning
Hitting some
this
more
launch was?
questions. Ooh, so kind of a good point here from Johan coming back to Starship here for a moment. So earlier we were talking about when Starship will approach a more frequent launch cadence, either from here in Florida or just in general between all of its pads, being 37, 39A, and one Starbase. But when they can reuse booster with a higher launch cadence that Johan is trying to point out, it will ease a lot on ship production. A lot. Very, very true. Or just in general, it will take a lot of stress on production as a whole. If they can just keep reusing boosters or keep reusing vehicles, they don't have to produce new vehicles as often. And I think that will also bode well for the first probably flight booster. That comes here to Florida, because I think that will take that booster out of Mega Bay 1 and leave it and take it off the hands of those in Starbase, and so that they can focus on the next one. D, if you're trying to talk, I cannot hear you, unfortunately. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
I cannot hear you, D, unfortunately. I hate to say it.
Well,
Okay. Well, apparently
Stream
everyone
hears
else
me.
hears D. I cannot hear D. Oh dear. I'm so sorry.
That's all good. I'm just gonna say real quick, this was an absolutely stunning launch. Max has been doing a great job hosting, and so while we work on that, I'll let Max take over control of hosting. I just wanted to say how stunning this was.
Okay. Yes, so I know, and that was wonderful, D. I'm sorry. I literally cannot hear you on comms right now. I'm so sorry. You guys were probably screaming at me in the back channel. I cannot hear you. I'm so sorry. But yeah, that was 100% worth staying up for this morning. I know you have some phenomenal footage coming our way for some replays here. And also other cameras as well coming our way. As you can still look at some of our live cameras here, this one based at the mouth of Jetty Park, and some of the exhaust residue from Falcon 9 still lingering in the atmosphere. And now the sky also getting brighter as we approach twilight and sunrise here on the Space Coast of Florida. My oh my. What I cannot imagine a better place to be right now than here. And here I am again, staring up at the cloud and getting lost in it and not knowing what to say, being being a bit gobsmacked. Here we are. D, do you have anything more to add?
No, I'm working on a second slow-mo replay. I'm doing sort of two different slow-mo replays at the moment, but this has been a stunning launch. Even if you weren't outside for the launch, go outside now and just look up at the sky, because if you're anywhere in the area, it is still really cool. Like, this is what a great morning.
Wonderful. Okay, still working on those replays here, folks. Hopefully soon. I know I hate to keep you all waiting. I know we're waiting just as much as you are. But in the meantime, I'm gonna hit some support here from Bet Bigglemore becoming a pad rep member. Dude, thank you so much. And also Rick becoming or gifting a $10 super, saying thank you to Rick for the just with a $10 super. Dude, thank you so much for the support. That means a lot. Folks, any support for us here at NSF does not have to be monetary. I do have to say that just hitting the like button or subscribing to our channel does wonders for us alone. Or just following us on all of our socials. So don't feel bad if you are not in a position to support monetarily. Do not fret. Just hitting the like button and watching our streams and coming back for our coverage is more than enough. We would not be here without you guys at all. So please, thank you so much. And also, while I'm on that little rant there, $5 super from Ken saying watched the Jetty Park cam and fast forward as the jellyfish blooms. Yeah. So I don't know if we have a time lapse ready for it or not, or at some point we will or not. But it's always fascinating having to play back footage of a jelly this vivid back and forth because you can actively see how it changes based on either wind patterns, altitude, and a whole bunch of other factors. So Noor, I think, is saying we have some replays ready. So let's kick those into gear cam, shall we? The first one here from one of our robotic cameras here based on the Kennedy Space Center. Actually, probably just a few feet away from me, because that's where I'm covering from. Big ball of light now coming out over the tree line there from pad 40 from our perspective. Literally turning night into day, as Falcon 9 always does. And there's that countdown clock there on the left that I was mentioning before that is currently lit up with the Artemis logo. Actually provides a nice little foreground element there. Another one of our robot cams here at the press site. There's the glow. And there is the orb. Man-made sunrise right there. And surprisingly, that looks kind of similar to how it looks to your naked eye, believe it or not. I don't recommend looking at a Falcon 9 during launch, especially from this close at night, because the exhaust is very, very bright. It can do some damage to your eyes. Either look off to one side or another. But to your naked eye, it looks borderline like an orb. You can see a bit more detail with your eyes there than what you can see on these cameras. It actually looks somewhat similar to this one, actually. A bit of action on the exhaust tail there, but a big orb nonetheless there towards the top. Excuse me. So all three robot cams here based at the press site. Now, I think, do we have more of the... Okay, here we go. Here's a camera that we have based here at the mouth of the turn basin. Look at this. Wow. That water was borderline glass this morning. I mean, there's only a gentle breeze coming out of the south. Water about as calm as can be. Watching Falcon 9 ascend as an orb in the sky, lighting up the foreground there. My goodness. My. Now, from one of our aforementioned fleet cameras based, I think this was fleet cam number one. Somebody correct me in the back channel if that's one or two. But ironically, from this camera's position, we can see this fleet cam number one. We can see Falcon 9 climbing directly behind Marmac 31, aka You Will Thank Me Later, and that is SpaceX's first Starship hardware transport barge. So a bit of the future and the past for SpaceX in one frame, which is kind of cool, but also kind of sad. Because Starship will end up replacing Falcon 9 at some point. Hopefully not too soon, but we all know it's coming. Wow. Yeah, it is strategically parked right in front of our angle to pad 40 from this perspective. This one's even better. We have the full barge in view and towards the right hand side of the frame. It'll appear in 3, 2, 1. Boom. Yeah. I don't know if haunting is the right word for this shot and the last one. No, I don't know. Haunting's not the right word. Maybe ominous? I don't know. Something about seeing Starship and Falcon hardware so close together feels so wrong, but also so right, considering Starship is the future, but Falcon 9 is how SpaceX got to where they are. I think this is the first of D's cameras, D. Look at this. So buttery smooth off the pad because of the robo head. Look at this. Put that on my toast. We should also have slow-mo of this to close out the stream, folks. So stay tuned for that. I promise you want to see that. And of course, also, this is just the wide view. We have the telescope coming as well on top of the views of the actual and stunning jellyfish that we also saw this morning. Good grief. Words are hard, but words would be hard after you are floored after seeing one of the most spectacular jellies that we have seen in quite a long time. Because we don't get those too often here in Florida anymore. Look at this, right by the moon. Golly. A waning crescent here on the east coast of Florida, and Falcon 9 flies right by it from this camera's perspective. Wonderful. Yeah, I don't know if I have the words anymore, folks. Vocabulary is failing me. The visuals, though, are not. I think that's fair to say. Goodness. Seeing more cars there driving by in the foreground of the VAB there on the right-hand side of your screen, because it is a Thursday. It is a normal workday at the Space Coast or the spaceport that never sleeps. Yeah, imagine being those first in the gate, driving through, and then seeing this in the sky. The exhaust expansion well underway from this perspective, climbing higher and higher. The color change also now happening. Gets very dim. And then coming up on MECO, or main engine cutoff of the first stage. And there we go. There's MECO. Jay in the back channel is like, it's bring your jellyfish to work day. I guess so. There we go. We have ignition of the MVAC there and stage 2. Now that flash there, kind of above, above the bright orb of the MVAC in stage 2 was the booster and its initial RCS. We should be coming up on fairing separation here shortly, which you should see pretty clearly from here. I know it's a bang in perspective from from the telescope, but Here comes the weirdness. Any second now. You'll see it gradually begin to light up. Any second. This is killing me. It did not appear this. It didn't appear this slow to our naked eyes. Any second. I promise. Any second, y'all. No, it will. Oh, here it comes. Look at this. Look at how it's both gradual but also super fast. Because it crosses that the line of termination so fast, traveling as quickly as it is. And look at, you can see, oh my gosh, just the waves in the exhaust. This bright blue, bright white, and the first bottom right, and the fairings in between that and stage 2. Goodness gracious. I don't know why that floors me every time. Maybe just because that's so far away and it's so microscopically small to our Mark 1 eyeballs, that the fact that we can see this so clearly from so far away, I guess, is one thing, but also just the fact of what's happening in front of you anyway, being lit up the way it is against the dark sky, is spectacular on its own. Now onto one of the tracks from our Cape Cams, looks like here. There's right to Miko. Stage separation coming up from, I think this was a J track this morning. There we go. There's ignition of the MVAC there in stage 2. Jay saying this is the coolest launch he's ever tracked. Yeah, I can see why. Peak Falcon 9. Yeah. I hate to be that guy again. There was a jelly that happened that I would argue was a bit better than this one because it was a little bit closer to sunrise. That is not to take anything away from what we saw today. Not one thing at all, I promise.
Max, I don't know if you can even hear me, but there's still jellyfish in the sky.
Falcon 9, it's certainly up there. But peak? Now, if this happened with a crew on board, that would be peak. But I guess also it's a record-breaking first-stage booster. So, that is already pretty peak. Now, the camera exposure is set a lot differently here than D's wide track. So, we're already seeing a lot more of the exhaust particulates on Falcon 9 second stage. And here we go, flying right into the sun. Gets immediately brighter all around. Look at this.
Yeah, I mean, the sunlight, it's hard to describe just how much of a sudden change it is. When you're tracking second stage on a normal day, a normal night, I should say, it is incredibly dim and you are brightening your settings a ton, you're really brightening your settings a ton. You're going as slow a shutter speed as you can, as wide an aperture as you can, and upping your ISO a ton. But once it hits jellyfish, then you're like, you have to just bring those settings back up really fast. Really fast shutter speed, closed aperture, like it is literally just hitting sunlight. And so when you see it for the first time, you aren't necessarily prepared for it. It is just such a cool phenomenon when it happens.
I mean, if anything, I think the wider perspective here really shows us how much it grows and how much its shape evolves over time. Because certainly with the tighter tracks, we can see a lot more of the fine detail, which is already mesmerizing enough. But if you are fortunate enough to be looking at this with your Mark 1 eyeballs, like you can see the whole thing expand, change shape, change color even. Water angles like this are just something else as well. Just the whole scene in general. Like more jellies, please. Florida does not see. Gee, I don't know if you have an opinion on this, but we don't get enough jellies on stream or in Florida. Period.
No, we definitely do not get enough jellyfish. It's always such a rare, and it's always a miserable time to come out here, set up. We're setting up at 2, 3, 4 a.m. to make sure that we're here for this. But the payoff of seeing it is so worth it.
Look, just falling toward the horizon, and also first stage entry burn there in between the very tip of the jelly and the actual jetty there of Jetty Park. That little dot was Falcon 9's entry burn. All the way over there. My goodness. Goodness gracious. Oh boy. Well, folks, we do have some replays to close you out with later on. Or just here, actually, in here, just in a few moments. But I believe it is time to begin wrapping up coverage from this morning's mission, Starlink 10-42. Oh, no. Means told, no, we're not ready. Okay, we're not ready yet. All right. All right. Jay needs a bit more. D, I think I can hear you now. Can you talk? Sound check? Check.
Sound check. 1, 2. Can you hear me?
Hey, there you are.
You know, I could just like shout back to you. You're on the other side of the press site, but you might be able to hear me that way. If it wasn't working, that might have been the move.
I'm sorry, folks. I genuinely could not hear D for a few minutes. I have no idea why. I tried getting in and out of the call. I pushed way too many buttons. I don't know what I did. But I can hear D now. So I apologize for if that was a bit awkward or if we were just broken records. But yes, now we can hear D. But now that we can hear D, I believe it is time to begin wrapping up our coverage here of Starlink 10-42 from Pad 40 in one of the most spectacular jellies that we have seen in a long time here on Florida Space Coast. Now I want to begin thanking people first by being DY is out in the field with the wonderful track tonight. D, thank you very much.
Of course. It's always an absolute pleasure, and it's the treats like this that are just like the extra cherry on top of a normal launch. This one was truly spectacular. We're 41 minutes after launch, and there are still remnants of jellyfish in the sky right now. Like, what a launch.
What a launch indeed. And then behind the scenes, pushing the buttons and pulling the levers, making the live stream do live stream things for everyone on YouTube and everywhere else was Sook Norsink, one of our newest producers here at NSF. My name is Max Evans. I have been your host for this morning's coverage, and we will again for the next one, and might not be too far away with Booster 20, hopefully heading to Pad 2 here, and not too long from now. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again very soon.
And here we go.
There's the deluge. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, you know.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
Real.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my god.
Yikes, you bet. We don't need any more of these.